Bar doors are once again open, and today we discuss an artist who takes his money and runs, trial by social media, and our good friend Peter Morgan from Tech for Togs discusses all things tech.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Photography Bar. Thank you for joining us. And before we get into the meaty stuff, I just wanted to say that if you enjoy the show, please make sure to support us by subscribing to our YouTube and Patreon channels. And you can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, all of which will be linked in the show notes. You can also leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast apps, such as Spotify and Apple Podcast. And with that, Mark, hello, how are you?
I'm okay, thank you very much. How are you doing?
Yep, very well, thanks. I am looking out of the window here at the bar. It's chucking it down with rain.
Yeah. Winter is upon us now, isn't it?
It is, yes. We are well into the autumn months, shall we say?
Still quite warm.
Warm. Yeah. It has been quite warm, and so at least we've got that on our side.
Yeah. Now, and a bit of good news as well, because we've got someone joining us later, haven't we, Cam? So I'll just quickly let you know. So because we don't really know that much about tech as far as backup stuff is concerned and all that. So we've got a chap coming in called Peter Morgan. I mean, he is a photographer himself, but he also founded Tech for Togs, which is sort of like a business to help photographers with their backups. He is an Apple and Wintel engineer, backup and disaster recovery specialist, who has been supporting individuals and businesses for over 25 years. So I think that'll be an interesting conversation that we'll have a little bit later on when he pops in for a drink.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. So that's going to be good because we're going to be talking about backing up work and the correct way of doing things and the workflow that you should have, and the importance of backing up our files and having a backup system, and whether we go to cloud, all of that. And he's going to break all of that down for us, which I think is great. Now, Mark, I wanted to start off with something where an art-based story, shall we say, and we, as photographers, you know, when we shoot images, we can do them for 2 or 3 different reasons. One, we could be doing them for a client, and we have to meet a client's brief. Mm-hmm. And the other reason is that we could be doing something completely for ourselves and for our own sort of self-gratification and sort of saying that this is what I wanted to do. This is about my work.
Well, photography is a passion, isn't it? It's more than a job. I think we've discussed this a few times. You know, I do take my camera to a lot of places other than work. You know, so it's
that's right. Yeah,
wanting to do.
Yeah, and when I do work for a client, my main thing at the beginning of the shoot, beginning of the job, whether it's photography or video, is to make sure that I know and understand exactly what the client wants from what I'm going to be producing. You know, what are the client's goals? Why does the client need the images that we're going to be shooting? What are they going to use them for? They're all questions that I ask, you know, and sort of quite thoroughly, so that I know that I'm familiar with what they would like. And then from there, I will make sure in the shoot that I want to give them exactly what they're looking for. But within that, I want to also, I then have the room and the flexibility to throw in my own ideas, to throw in my own creativity as well. But the main thing for me is making sure that I meet the client's needs. I'm not one of those photographers that turns around and says, well, I'm sorry, you know, the images aren't what you're looking for because this is what I do.
Yeah. I think that's an element of having your own vision in there. But no, if there's a brief, you got to stick to the brief without a doubt. And when it comes to the way you shoot, please understand I'm trying to avoid the word style because, you know, I don't like that. But you know, people will choose you because they like your work. So a wedding photographer, they'll have seen your work, they'll like what you do anyway. So there's, you know, there is a reason for people choosing you.
Yeah, and it does. I do find it frustrating when and it's come back to that word style, and or photographers have got a certain way of doing things, or they're into something. They might be landscape photographers, they might be into sort of, close-up photography. They enjoy doing a certain type of photography, and I've spoken to photographers before, and they'll say, oh, but this is what I do. But at the end of the day, to me, it always comes down to the client. Now, there is not a photographer here, but we're talking about an artist who was recently asked to provide two pieces of artwork to the Kunsten Museum in Austria, and there was a theme for this art project that they wanted to display in their gallery, and the art project was intended as a statement on salaries in Denmark and Austria. Okay. And so that's what the theme was. And so the Danish artist was given 2 blank canvases for the project, and the project was titled "Take the Money and Run."
Right. Okay.
All right. So if I said to you or anyone out there, and I'd like you to all think about this, if I said to you, right, I'd like you to go and do some photography, a couple of pictures, I want you to present them to me, and the theme that we're going to give you is "Take the Money and Run." Okay.
Yeah.
What sort of images would you be doing? And Mark,
I
want others to think about this. Those of you that are listening, I'd like you to think about this. Take the money and run. What would your images be?
I mean, it depends how abstract you want to go. I mean, you could literally have someone running away with a wad of cash in their hands. That's a bit obvious, though, isn't it? I mean, you could maybe, I don't know, you could make some political statement and just have a picture of an Amazon van, about taxes or whatever. And I don't want to get into trouble with all of this. It is a well-known sort of theory or thing that Amazon and Apple and all that, they don't pay their taxes properly in this country. I don't know if that's true or not, but that is a theory that people have. So you could take a picture of something like that. I don't know. I mean, you could have a picture of maybe a celebrity you think is a bit dodge. Yeah, there's all different ways. I mean, I'm just, I didn't know you were going to ask me this question, so I'm just thinking off the top of my head. I mean, generally, if I was going to put an art exhibition, I would do several months of research and develop ideas and all that kind of stuff, because that's how you develop it, isn't it? But so I'm guessing, because you asked this question, that's none of those things is what this artist has done, I'm guessing.
Well, no, because he's actually been ordered to. So he was paid for this to provide 2 pieces of art, and he was paid £58,000.
All right, okay.
Okay, so a nice sum of money to present 2 pieces of art. Okay, so he's obviously a well-known artist here, and the artist we're talking about is Jens Hanning. And it says the Kunst Museum in Aalborg had intended for Jens Hanning to, it says to embed the banknotes in 2 pieces of art in 2021. It says, so let me read from the actual from the article, and this is from BBC. It says a Danish artist has been ordered to return nearly 500,000 kroner, that's £58,000 or $72,000, to a museum after giving it 2 blank canvases for a project he named "Take the Money and Run."
Well, I mean, I think he's in his rights to do that, to be honest. Because
so he gave it 2. So he gave them blank canvases, and he said that the work is that I have taken their
money and run.
Yeah, and the court has now ordered him to return the cash.
Oh, really?
But keep some for expenses. The art project was intended as a statement on salaries in Denmark and Austria. The museum asked for the artist to return all the money, but Mr. Hanning has refused. Now, after a long legal battle, a Copenhagen court in Denmark on Monday ordered Mr. Hanning, 58 years old, to refund the museum 492,000 kroner. That figure, it said, was equivalent to the sum the museum had given him minus the artist's fee and the cost of mounting. Museum director Lasse Andersen said that he had laughed out loud when he first saw the 2 blank canvases in 2021 and decided to show the works anyway. Now, that's interesting, because he said they decided to show the works anyway, because there's a picture of the canvas up on the wall. It's a big old canvas, so huge, it's a huge thing. It's an image on BBC from Getty Images. So it says he stirred up my curatorial staff, and he also stirred me up a bit, but I also had a laugh because it was really humoristic, the museum's director, Lasse Andersen.
Yeah.
said.
And
And
I think it's a good answer to the brief as well. I think that's
he
because
said,
I can't imagine, right? Sorry, I know there's a bit more to say, but just to put my two pennies worth in, I just mentioned about, about 2 minutes ago about how I would do a lot of research and I would really develop an idea. He may have had hundreds of ideas before he came up with this one.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah. When I mean, it says take the money and run. It says after the judgment, Mr. Hanning said that he did not plan taking the case any further. It has been good for my work, he said, but it also puts me in an unmanageable situation where I don't really know what to do. He told TV2 Nord on Monday the museum had made much, much more money than what it had invested, thanks to the publicity surrounding the affair.
So basically, the museum have made money out of it anyway.
Yes, they have. That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think this is a crock. I think he shouldn't be giving back the money. I think he should be keeping it personally. But
You think he should be keeping it?
yeah, absolutely. Look, I guess that the spin that a lot of people are taking from it. Oh, right, okay. So he got this, take the money and run. And he just thought, I know what I'll do. I'll just buy some canvases and stuck them up on the wall. I don't think that's the case. I think he probably did think of other ideas, other ways of displaying take the money and run. And he came up with this one. I think it's a genius idea because it's immersive art. It is exactly what it is. He's taken the money and run. And the museum have made them, they still put the work up. Do you know what I mean? What was the conversation when they received the work? Did they just go? Did they go, oh, these are blank canvases? Oh, well, we can't put these up. We'll have to put something. What did they do? They put it up anyway and made loads of money out of it.
Had they not put it up, that would have been different. There's a picture of it's a classic picture of a canvas hanging in a gallery with the back of somebody looking at this, and it's a lady, and all she's standing right in the middle of the canvas, and she's just got her head up, and she's just looking at a white blank canvas. That's all she's looking at. And, it goes back to the stuff that you see, when people will just put a pile of rubbish together and say, that's art.
Tracy Emin's bed is something that springs to mind.
So there is a message in everything, in everything that we see, and it's how we do. But yeah, the more you think about it, the more you think that how many people, and be honest, would have thought, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just not going to submit anything. I'm going to send a blank digital file. That's it. Take the money and run. That's what I've done. You've given me some money and I've given you nothing pretty much, or I have given you something, but what I have done is I've given you my thought process in return.
But that's what art is though, isn't it? The piece that you see in the wall is a product of thought process. I mean, it's not about painting pretty pictures or anything like that, or making a beautiful sculpture. That's not what it's all about. That's not what art's about. Art is about the going through a process, the thought process of someone. That's why an artist is an artist, because not everyone would have thought about that. Do you know what I mean? So that's what makes artists different to other people. It always annoys me when I'm in an art gallery or something, and some of the more more simple looking thing. Barnett Newman is a good example. A really brief, crass description of his work is just a load of painted lines, really. Right. But really, he's looking at for me, he's looking at negative and positive spaces and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I there's more to it than what, and you have to sort of really think about it. Art that you have to think about, but a lot of people might look at it and go, that's not good. That's not art. What's going on there? It's I don't know. It's just that's what art's about. It's a different way of thinking. So yeah, I think I think it's a great idea. I don't think he should have. I don't think he should have had to have given the money back. I think, and especially when the museum, the gallery has made money from it. I think this is an absolute racket.
So whenever anyone says to me, I'm entering a competition, or have you got any ideas? I don't know what to do. And I do this with a lot of students as well, is saying that always remember that very often the simplest ideas are the ones that work the best. Don't try and
Yeah.
overcomplicate things. Try and always do something that that first of all you can execute and you can do it. And you might do something that I'm not happy with it, so you go and redo it because you want to improve it. Don't set yourself a task if you're doing a series of photos or a project or something, or a photo of doing something that you just know you're never going to achieve. Do something that maybe pushes you. But I think what this has pushed is the thinking. Now, the more you think about it, it is a genius idea of
Yeah.
basically presenting a blank canvas, literally a blank canvas. So, and as I said, he didn't just think of that. I mean, he may have done. It may have been the first thought that came to mind.
He would have explored other ideas, I'm
He
sure.
would have explored other
That's what
ideas,
artists do.
and he may well need to have presented those ideas to a court, or they may well have said, look, we want to see what your thought process was, we want to see what your ideas were. So he may have had drawings, sketches, all sorts of things sketched out and ideas, and if he did, then this carries even more weight. Because sometimes you just sit there and you think and oh, actually, but how many people also would have had the balls to actually do it? That's the other thing, Mark. If I turned around and said to you, oh, Mark, I've got this great idea, we're not going to do anything, we're just going to give them a blank canvas. I can guarantee that most people would have said, no, you can't do that, don't be so daft. No, but it's true, take the money and run, this is what we're doing. And I think a lot of people would have said, no, we're not going to do that. Well, even if they may well have just even drawn one line or even just signed it at the bottom and said, that's it.
They should have, I guess, if he'd put like, I don't know, I don't know, did you say it was Krona?
Yes,
currency?
Danish.
So I don't know, if you got a coin, which is the equivalent of a penny, and just popped it right in the middle of the canvas, then he probably would have gotten away with it. Do you know what I mean? It's nonsense. I think this is, well, plus, the law. What does the law know about art, really? It's too. I don't know. I'm surprised that he was forced to give the money back, because for me, he's answered the brief.
It has. So I suppose the thing is that if you are given this a theme of something to do with photography, you're going to do your little brainstorm ideas and and come up with all the things that you think might work for you and everything. But it's just worth, and also research, I think, is key here as well. Look at what other people do. It's just a bit of advice here. If you're doing something, look at other, not just photographers, look at other artists, look at other mediums as well, to see what other people are producing, because it can give you good ideas, which actually, in many ways, it leads, because the power of the image is a still image is huge, power of video is huge, which actually leads quite well into the next story, because we're going to come onto this in a moment. Aren't we? In fact, let's do that.
Well, let's go grab a drink first, shall we?
Let's do that, because we're going to talk about the power of the medium here. Okay, let's go and grab a drink.
All right.
Okay, right, and we are back again, feeling refreshed, and got a drink here with us. Okay, Mark, why don't you kick off with this, because this is very, very current and in the news, and it's going to run for quite some time, I think.
Yeah. So obviously we're recording it. I mean, we our episodes don't come out straight away, so we're currently recording this on Wednesday, the 20th of September. So it is pretty current at the moment. So just to put that into perspective. So, and I want to be really careful in how we discuss this, because obviously we've all heard the news about Russell Brand at the moment. And I don't really want to talk about him particularly, but it is a good example of something that kind of worries me, but I kind of understand it. I'm conflicted with it, basically. So, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I heard today that Russell Brand, I mean, he's had to postpone. Oh, for those who don't know, there's allegations of sexual assault against Russell Brand. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I've not. I mean, you saw the dispatches, didn't you, Cam? I did. Seen it.
Yeah.
But I don't really want to talk about his case as much. I just want to use this as an example, because we don't know the ins and outs of it, and I think it would be unfair for us to do so. I'm not a supporter of him particularly, and I'm not a detractor either. I don't really have anything to say about him, really. But his tour has been cancelled or postponed because of these allegations. But also the BBC have taken content that includes him down. I'm not sure if it's all of it, but a good chunk of the content that includes Russell Brand has been taken off their sites and iPlayer and all that kind of stuff. But also YouTube have decided to demonetize his content, so he can no longer make money from his videos. Now, some people out there might be going, yes, because he's, this is a heinous crime that he's been alleged to have done. And I agree, it is a heinous crime. And, the convictions of sexual assault in this country are appallingly low, which is obviously another story. I don't really want to talk about that too much, but it is appallingly low. But it does bother me that someone who hasn't been charged, has only had an allegation. The police are only now investigating it. He has basically started to be cancelled. His work is, he's not allowed to make money on YouTube anymore. He can still post on YouTube, but he can't earn money from it. Apparently, if he is found innocent and all that, he can recoup that money. Apparently, I don't know how that works, but there we go. If he's found innocent, part of our we don't have a constitution here, but our law does state, innocent till proven guilty, right? So it does worry me that we have this sort of powerful trial by media. We have we have a judicial system, we have a police force. That is who should be putting him on trial rather than media. Having said that, Harvey Weinstein was a topic of a similar documentary to the Dispatches one, and that's what brought him down. And that was a good thing, because Harvey Weinstein was, quite frankly, a monster. I don't know if Russell Brand is or not, because he hasn't even been investigated properly yet. He's not been charged, but yet he is being cancelled on social media. He's been cancelled from YouTube, and the BBC have taken us down. I have sympathies, though, for people like the BBC, because their reputation's on the line. If they do not, if they keep his content on their website, his videos, and whatever it is, and he is found to be guilty, then they might be considered to have been supporting him when he shouldn't have been, and all that kind of stuff. So I am massively conflicted about it, but it does worry me a bit that and I want to be careful, because I don't want to victim shame either, because that's not on, because everyone has the right to make an accusation. But if anyone can make an accusation against anyone, and then suddenly they can't work, and that worries me a little. What do you think?
Well, I saw the documentary. I saw it a few days after it was. I saw it a few days after it was. I saw it a few days after it was actually aired. And first of all, I found it very uncomfortable viewing. Okay, and the reason for why I found it uncomfortable viewing, and I'm not actually talking about the actual content of the document. No, not the content. I'm not talking about Russell Brand as such. Okay, I'm talking about him. I'm just talking about the actual documentary. I found it very uncomfortable, because it was a very, very one-sided documentary. Okay, so what it does is it goes to show that the use of imagery and words alongside that can be made, to work a certain way. It wasn't at all a balanced documentary in any way. And I'm not saying it should have been, or it shouldn't have been. I'm just saying that that's what it was. It was a one-sided documentary. And
I guess people need to understand that when they're watching it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And after the documentary, the Metropolitan Police announced that after the allegation, after the documentary, there were some additional allegations were made against him, and so I think that they were going to be looking into it. But the thing is with that whole media circus that's going on around it, there's that danger that these malicious allegations, they're going to be made on the strength of the media reaction to the investigation. And
it might not be malicious. There might be proper allegations.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'm sure you didn't mean anything by that, Cam, but I just wanted to,
right. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And so but also that there is also then there's this. So everyone's going to be thinking, well, this person, and let's not now keep naming it because we want to, right? Let's just say that this person is now facing trial by media and we think he's guilty because of the media narrative is very, this person has been doing this and it's obvious and clear that he's been doing this. Okay, that's what they seem to be sort of saying. But the problem is now that if somebody, then the flip side of that is if somebody else comes out and makes an allegation and makes more allegations, okay, and then people are then going to be doubting those allegations by saying, oh, well, they're just jumping on the bandwagon of the media. And this person now wants to, is where this person just come out of the woodwork and he or she is saying, this is what I went through and this is what happened to me and everything. And people are going to be then doubting what
could be a credible accusation.
What could be a credible accusation. And that's worrying as well. So you have to look at all of these allegations and you have to, you can't blindly believe them. You can't dismiss them out of hand. You can't just say, oh, well, that person stepped forward now. Isn't that convenient that this happened 15 years ago and why has she come forward now? Well, she's after money and whatever. But then the flip side of that is that she had her reasons for not coming forward or being able to come forward because of whatever the reasons are.
Well, the really low conviction rate in this country, I think, is a really good
it could well be that,
people making a proper allegation.
So we're all so it's very easy to make private judgments about, particularly about people in the public eye, and the media, the power of the media, you can't underestimate it. And this is a classic example of the power of the way something is filmed and something is put together a certain way. And it's creators, it's content creators that are putting that. That's what that's what we are as photographers and videos. We use this word as content creators. Now this is quite serious because they've produced a program in a certain way with a certain narrative, and I'm sure that they're not going to do it without good reason, and they're going to be pretty sure of what they've got. But that's not to say that what they've got is going to be, proven to be wrong. So, and it's like the previous story that we talked about a guy who presented a blank canvas to a complete blank canvas to a museum and was asked to pay all the money back. Whether it's a still image or whether it's a bit of video, the amount of messages that I constantly read these. I see this little thing that says, is photography finished? Is the power of photography, is it relevant or anything like that? It will always be relevant because still images and video will always, because we're looking at more and more images than we ever did before. We're looking at more and more video content than we ever did before. And we get, regardless of what you say, we get taken in by all of that. I know what I think about this story. I'm not going to say what I personally think about this story and my feelings towards what I've seen and whether whether I think that this person is guilty or not guilty.
Well, neither of us are qualified to make that decision, and I think that's the problem I have with this sort of trial by social media. Is none of us are qualified to make that decision. It doesn't look good. I mean, there's Russell Brand in particular. He has confessed of being a sex addict, I think, hasn't he? As well as other addictions that he's had. So it's very easy for a group of people to go, well, yeah, I can see this. Do you know what I mean? But we don't know. We don't know for sure. And none of us are qualified. And that's where I kind of start to worry. Because we all have access to a media platform, i.e. social media.
That's right,
our opinions forward. And, we're not qualified to do that, really.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And there's been a lot of stories. I mean, there was a huge story, wasn't there, about Rebecca Vardy and Colin Rooney, and
what was that called?
And do you remember
Wagatha Christie?
Something like the Wagatha Christie, yeah. And then there was that. Do you remember the whole Johnny Depp thing and being accused of allegedly being accused of being a wife beater or something, and all of that.
Amber Heard.
That's right, yeah. And and the thing is so reported on the media that the
Mm,
media, do have a responsibility as photographers and videographers and journalists. It's very easy to get taken in by something and believe in 1,000% in what you do, but
mm,
there's also consequences to all of that as well,
yeah.
in images. And we know that the power of and here's the power of the media and what it's actually doing to somebody, whether that's right, whether it's going to be proven to be right or wrong. It's a different thing. Look what happened to Cliff Richard. He
Yeah.
was hounded by he was hounded by it all,
Yeah.
and he really struggled from it. And in the end, he was given an official apology,
Yeah.
and you know and that affected him. And yet a lot of people, when it was all going on, just immediately believed it because of the narrative of
Of the media.
the media.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a bit of a conspiracy thing. It also comes from the Trump playbook, I guess. I mean, Russell Brand is saying things like, "Well, I've been saying things, and the media don't like it, and this is a witch hunt."
Mm,
Um, I I don't know. I kind of take those kind of comments with a pinch of salt. But he could be right. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified to know. I
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
either
I
way.
think I think this is something that's gonna we know it's gonna run for quite some time.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we're all going to be. It is going to be a story that everyone's going to be hooked on. Everyone's going to be talking about it. Everyone is talking about it.
Mm,
And let's see how it pans out. And it's going to be very interesting to also to see what other documentaries come out, because is there going to be one that's a little less biased? Is there going to be something that comes out where somebody says, no, this is, we're going to be looking at it, we're looking at it from both sides. Is there going to be a documentary that comes out, or a series of images that come out that are going to be very pro Russell
mm.
Brand, that are going to be saying, look, here's proof that he wasn't guilty. He's not guilty of all of
Because
these things that we're saying.
seem to remember when there was a big documentary about Michael Jackson before he died. I think was it before he died? No, it might have been after he died,
It was
actually.
after he died, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was after he died. There's a big
Mm,
documentary. I can't remember who did it. There was a big documentary about these, the alleged
mm,
allegations with children. And then I think a couple of weeks after, the Jackson family released their own documentary, didn't they? Sort
yeah.
of debunking this, and
Yeah.
he kind of left of,
Yeah.
okay, you have to make your own decision on who you believe. Some people
Yeah.
believe the original one. Some people believe the Jackson
Yeah.
family. And yeah, it's when you have such one-sided documentaries, it's difficult. It is difficult. Some people might say, well, there is only one side to it, and he
Mm,
is guilty. And like I say, we're not qualified to know, but
mm.
it. And I guess it's a good way to lead on to sort of censorship in general, because we 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 have to learn now to self-censor, I think, in a lot of respects. Um, because I know a couple of years ago, I think we had Rick from Horrify Me on, and his stuff is quite adult themes, the pictures that he produces, and he has to deal with a lot of the censorship stuff
Mm,
where it's art. Again, going back to our first story today, and censorship. It was always by some sort of Ofcom, or some sort of conglomerate of people who would pass judgment on a movie that needs to be an 18 or a 15 or a PG or whatever it is, and I understand why that's there. But now with social media, we are our own. We have our own platforms,
mm,
and quite frankly, none of these social media platforms are going to put any sort of effective censorship on their platforms, because
mm.
they believe in freedom of speech. It's against their ethos, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering now, really, if it's up to us as the people to just be careful about what you post. Just be careful about the things that you say,
Yeah.
because it will not necessarily come back to you, but it might come back on somebody else. And like I say, that there could be innocent people who have been hounded for no reason. Like you said, Cliff Richard,
Mm.
I didn't read any of the tweets regarding that story, but
No.
I'm sure there are people out there who were convinced he was, definitely guilty of what he's been accused of and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
When it turns out he wasn't. and I'm
Yeah.
sure the same for the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. But we just need to be careful. We absolutely do, because
Mm.
the
Yeah.
the trial by social media is a modern day witch hunt. Whether someone's guilty or not, we have due process, and we do have to go through that due process. And I just think we just need to be careful with it, basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, be interesting to see how this runs, and we'll keep an eye on it. As I said, not from the story point of view, but just on how the media is reporting it and
Yeah,
what type of videos and stills they put out. And it will be interesting to see, because I've got a feeling that some of the stills that there's going to be, as drip fed, there's going to be a lot of stills coming out, and they're going to be putting the person that we're sort of talking about, Russell Brand, in making him look in a compromising position, so we say, which
yeah,
you can when you watch the video. And now those pictures may be taken out of context, we don't know, but again, that is the power of the image. There's
that
going to
is
be a
the power of
picture,
the
and
image.
that's going to
Absolutely.
be people looking at a picture of Russell Brand thinking, oh my god, that's just typical of Russell Brand. But it may be a completely innocent picture, and
Yeah,
it may be taken completely out of context. So let's see what happens here.
yeah.
And
I think, as well as my call to self censor, I also would suggest to the people that listen to us, just don't take things on face value. I like I said, I'm not qualified to know if he's guilty or not, and I hope the police do a thorough investigation and that the right outcome comes about. I really do. But don't take things at face value. Investigate things. Be critical of the images that you see. It's very important. Something that I learned at uni. Look at an image, dissect an image, really look at what's going on in that picture or video. Critique it, basically, because that's the only way we're going to actually have a proper discussion about not just this story, but any other story.
yeah,
Because there's a lot of people out there who will have an agenda to try and again, not talking about this story here, but people will have agendas and will put out content to make you follow a certain agenda as fact, and it might not be. And you just need to be investigative about what you are looking at, and really think about what it is that you're looking at and the message that it becomes, and just learn to dissect that image. Oh, right. Okay. Peter's just walked into the bar. Let's go and grab a drink, and after that, we'll talk tech.
I wanted to talk about the importance of backing up our work as photographers and videographers. What things should we be doing? What is a good workflow? What's everything that we should be doing to making sure that when we shoot any type of job, whether it's photography or video, that we are backing up our files, we are keeping them securely, and making sure that we don't have any issues moving forward, where we lose files, where a client comes back to us in a few weeks or a few years even and says, I'd like to get copies of my files, and we can't open them because our files are corrupt. It's all that sort of thing. And I think this is quite important for photographers, because it's very easy to not do the right things and therefore lose a lot of important work. So my first question really is, how long should we as photographers be keeping a client's files? Do you think? How long is a reasonable time limit for a customer to come back and say, I'd like to, do you still have my photos? And we are in that time frame where we say yes, or we say no, we no longer keep them.
First of all, can I just say thanks for having me at the bar?
No
It's
worries.
nice that we get a chance to have a catch up like this and just sit down, have a chat, shoot the breeze, and have a drink, right? And we are talking about things that are, very important for people's business. But ultimately, this has got to be sort of a conversation that we can have with everybody, because it's so important, really, to kind of look at exactly what you're asking. Really, I think part of it is looking at how long, how much storage you can have, and different types of photography would generally require different lengths of time, in my opinion. So,
Okay.
for instance, if you're photographing somebody's wedding, I would say my personal opinion is to keep those photographs as long as possible, because I'll give you an example. My dad and I were talking the other day. He's 85. He's 85 just a couple of days ago, actually,
Mhm.
and still in really
Wow.
good health. I
Yeah.
know,
Big
right?
age. Great
Yes.
age.
Yeah, still in really good health. And we were talking about wedding albums, and I was saying how really wedding albums are the only kind of medium that doesn't age. Because years ago we would have given somebody a floppy disk, and then perhaps maybe we would have given someone a CD,
Yeah.
maybe a DVD.
Mm.
So if you want to keep your wedding pictures for as long as possible digitally, you're going to need a lot of storage to start off with. Now, you client images should be kept for a minimum, I would say, of 7 years. Um, and then you can look to put the onus back onto the client and sort of say to them, look, we've kept your images for 7 years. Um, would you like to, we're going to archive them. Would you like to retain a copy of that? Do you still have the copy that we've given you? Um, and just ensuring that those pictures are kept. It also gives a good opportunity to ask wedding clients if they are um, if they're interested in buying a wedding album,
Mm.
because, like I said,
Well,
my
they are timeless, aren't they? I mean,
yeah, I mean my
they don't change. So
Yeah. When
yeah.
it comes to let's just talk about your average commercial shoot.
yeah.
We won't go into specifics of certain types of commercial shoots, but just your average
Mm.
commercial shoot.
So yeah,
How
so
lo- how long would a client say, if you were to give a figure, what would that figure be? Is like, right, we're going to keep, this is your commercial shoot.
okay. See, with commercial shoots, everything is about specifics. I think when we deal with the licensing side of things, we tell people that they can have pictures for a certain length of time, for a certain length of usage, for a certain length of reach. And that's how we cost up licensing. Now, included within that discussion should be how, where, and until when you keep their photographs, because so that the onus is not necessarily, because keeping every photograph, let's be realistic, it's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. I'm now starting to archive wedding images from 10 years ago,
Mm.
and being forced to kind of look at when was the last time the archive was accessed,
Mm.
kind of which photographs are accessed, what did I provide the client with at the time. That's acceptable with wedding photographs, but with commercial photographs, there's an onus, especially if you're looking at bigger companies like New Balance, for instance. We do photography for them, and the national and governing bodies for swimming in Wales. The onus for them is on us keeping the pictures securely, but also ensuring that they have access 24/7 whenever they want. But there will come a period, um, when I say to them, right, these are now out of your scope of work that you originally came to us for. Um, would you like us to keep this for you for a longer period of time? In which case, there's a fee for that.
Yeah.
Would you like to purchase a hard drive with them on? In which case, there's a fee for that. I mean, I know this is going to sound mercenary for perhaps people who are just starting out, but when you're
Well,
a
no,
commercial,
it's important
it's
because
your
if you are
business, right?
storing it, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Why should you, if especially if you have a contract saying, well,
Mm.
we're going to hold the images for, let's just say, for example, 3 years.
Yeah.
Let's say you say that, and then you've got them for over, and you're kind of like, well, you're contacting the client. Actually, it's a good courteous thing to do. Look, we've got these images. The contract is up now. Do
Mm.
you want to still keep them? Is essentially what you're asking. Do you still need them? If so, if you want me to keep them, there's going to be a fee, or I can sell you the hard drive or whatever. It's giving them
Yeah.
options, or you don't have to. We'll just delete them, and then that
Yeah.
frees up.
And
And,
the
and
most,
it's not really mercenary. It's part of the
yeah.
business, isn't it? I mean,
Uh,
I guess people did that with negatives back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I only even bring up that word because I speak to lots of photographers that are just starting out, and they feel scared to ask for money
Mm,
for, because they're assuming that the client is going to say, why should I have to pay for this? Why should I have to pay for that? But I think getting yourself into the right mindset from the start that storage costs money. You know, your time costs money, your skill, costs money. Ultimately, you might not be asking for a lot of money, but the very fact that there is a fee involved, you know. So, Cam, I guess coming back to your question, look, I keep commercial jobs for a minimum of 3 years. Weddings are kept for a minimum of 7 years, but I do have stuff going back as far as 2008.
Yeah.
I tend to after the sort of 7 years, I'll delete all the images that were not edited and only keep the edited images. The reason, and people say, why do you keep images that weren't edited? An example would be when a bride's grandfather passed away. She came back to me and said, do you have any photographs of my grandfather from the wedding other than what you've already given me? We'll happily pay for them. He's passed away. We want as many photographs as we can. I had about 15 images of him. Some of them were blurry or he was moving, just weren't the right image. Gave her all the images, charged a fee for it, just for passing over the images. And ultimately she was incredibly happy that we had those images, which she wouldn't have had if we hadn't kept those. So there is a balance. Only, your listeners can gauge where their business lies. I will say weddings you keep for longer than commercial shoots, and with the shortest time possible being quick shoots, kind of mini sessions and stuff like that. You'd use that to your advantage. So you'd say, when you walk out this door, guys, any photographs you don't purchase will be deleted, so that we've got space on our hard drives, and it's an incentive. People don't want to lose those photographs as well, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So you can use it for your advantage.
Yeah. So I think it's a case of you as an individual making, I mean, there's no set rules, but it's you as an individual doing what you feel comfortable doing and what you feel is reasonable. So when it comes to the different backing up options, now that I know that we've all got our own different workflows, with everyone out there that's listening has got all their own different backing up options, and there's probably there's a myriad of options, some that wouldn't even consider because everyone does things differently. But let's just talk about. Let's just say the three relevant options. Let's not go into every single one because I think we've got to I think what we've got to do is think about what's current, what's current technology, what's the most efficient process. So what would you say? Let's talk about a wedding or your standard commercial shoot. You've just gone out, you've shot a series of images for a client, and you want to keep the original files and you want to keep the edited files. Doesn't matter what type of job it is, okay, but you want to keep everything that you've shot. Where are the three best places? What are the three best backing up options, would you say?
Well, I would say the first thing is everybody has to have a backup. I know that goes without saying, but you'd be surprised how many people come to me and they're like, well, I have got a backup somewhere. I can't remember the last time it backed up. So the important thing is, if you're not backing up, you're setting yourself up to fail. Okay. The easiest backup is the one that takes the least amount of steps to complete, right? You say, some people will come to me and they say, yeah, definitely backup. What I do is I take all these photographs and then I copy them over to this drive, and then this drive goes into this vault there, and then this gets taken off. And I'm like, whoa. It's too many steps. One click, one button. And it should be as easy to test your backup as it is to complete the backup. Don't assume that everything's going to work perfectly. It's got to be tested as well, right? You test your brakes on your car, you make sure they stop. So why not test your backups, right? I know that's kind of a stupid analogy, but you get my point, So yeah, talking about different types of backup. Okay, so the best one, I should say, talking about different types of backup. Okay, so there is no real best one. You have multiple different types of backup, and each one has their own separate benefits. pros and cons. So on-site, off-site, cloud. Those are the three relevant backups. On-site being something you store nearby to you, but on a different drive or in a different place to where your photographs are stored. Off-site is something physically away from where you are working, physically away from your premises, physically away from your computer, maybe in a different house, location. It could even be stored in your shed. I've seen that. I've seen that happen. The last one, cloud-based backup. Cloud is something you would use literally like Dropbox, like Google Drive, Backblaze, CrashPlan, Carbonite. All of these are examples of cloud-based backup, and that's just another type of off-site backup, but very different in the way it works to off-site, less hands-on experience, really. More
And I
kind of
guess, yeah, and those three options, which make a lot of sense, because what I personally do is I have backups of all the work that I do here at the office. And then I do have a portable drive that I do something that you said is not a good idea. When I've done the shoot, I'll back everything up here at the office on a drive, and then I'll bring a drive that I keep at home, and I'll bring that in, and I'll copy what's on my office drive onto my home drive, and then I'll take that home drive. It's a physical drive, so I just know that it's a physical backup. It's the best way that it's actually done. And then when it comes to cloud, what I do is I only back up finished files, because to be honest with you, the amount of time that it takes to back up, let's just say a whole wedding or any commercial shoot. When we do video, say for example, we did a video shoot last week and we probably had 250 gig of video files, and we can't realistically back up 250 gig worth of files on a cloud system. It would just take too long. So we know. So the best answer from what you've said is have physical backups. One, keep that where your office stroke home is. If you don't have a separate office, from where your house is, keep it. You could even give it to a neighbor, or couldn't you? Or you could give it to your parents or your best mate or something. Somewhere you can easily go and just access the file. Leaving it with a neighbor, I think, is quite a good idea. I know my neighbors really well here at my office, and I could quite easily say to them, look, would you mind if I just left this here, and every time I need it, it's just a physical backup. The cloud thing though is the one thing though that is, I think, is really important, because your physical, and I've had this problem, my portable drives in the past, I've had a fair few portable drives that have failed. Okay, and they've been good quality portable drives. Maybe because they've got old, or maybe because I've got one that I've been plugging into 5 different computers and I just can't seem to get it going. Okay, that happens. So backing up onto the cloud is the thing. So you mentioned a number of different cloud places like Dropbox, Blaze, and those sort of. Again, just limiting it to say 3, and we're not necessarily, I guess, saying that these are the only 3, but which ones would you say would be the first 3 that you should at least have a look at and are the easiest to actually access? Would you say Dropbox probably?
Dropbox is probably, Dropbox is probably going to be the easiest. Google Drive as well. Those are what we would consider non-commercial kind of solutions. Backblaze I use myself. They do a number of different plans. There's a Backblaze plan that loads onto your computer that backs up everything that's on your computer as it changes. The one that I use is a business version called B2, and essentially what it does is it allows you to so it's stored on a network storage device, like a big hard drive that I've got in the office, and that literally drip feeds all the information as it's changed up to the cloud. So there's minimal involvement from me really, other than setting it up to start off with. Backblaze works really well because it's very transparent. All their pricing is on their website, and you know how much it's going to cost for how much you're going to store. If you want to pay less, you delete the things that you no longer need, If you don't mind how much you pay, it'll give you an accurate guide to how much you're going to pay every month. The reason that I use Backblaze is that it's got an app that comes with it that I can load onto my phone, and I can see at any one time what is backed up in the cloud and download things to my phone or to a computer, or very quickly. Cloud-based backups have been a trend over the years, in that people have said, oh, this is great, but what you have to remember is, if you accidentally delete a whole wedding and you need to restore a whole wedding, you're reliant on how fast your internet is to be able to get that data back. And when you've got a client standing in front of you that says, I need all my pictures now, and you're waiting to download them, if you live in a rural area, that's where the fallibility of cloud-based solutions, that's where they fail. So having multiple solutions solves this problem, but cloud solution is a definite one that I would definitely consider.
Okay. So now my next question, I want to try and keep this answer as simple as possible, because I've come across this and I've still not understood it. Okay, I have to be honest, because I've had one of these systems, and I think now basically what I'm going to ask in a moment is, what is can you explain very, very briefly what is a NAS system and what is a RAID system? Now, I think I've had a NAS system from a company called QNAP, because one of the things that I wanted to comment on, the first thing was what you've just said, was that whether you have a physical backup at home, whether you have a separate one offsite somewhere else, and then when you do cloud, nothing is 100% safe. And I know that. I've experienced this because I've had portable drives that failed. But using a company like QNAP, where I thought everything was perfectly safe, I was hacked, and I've mentioned this on the pod, some time ago. And basically, the hackers are asking me for a few £1,000s and I've lost years of files because of that. I've not gone back. I've not made that payment. Luckily, I've not had to go back to those files. But I do know that I think they go back from probably 2016 to 2020, something like that. Most of them are commercial jobs, and luckily I've not been in the situation where I've had to explain to a customer, look, I've no longer got those files. Leave it a few more months, and I think I'm within that safe period to say, hey, look, after that 3-year period, we wouldn't have kept them anyway, right? 3 or 4 year periods. So I think I had what is a NAS system, and I still don't know what the best thing is, but very, very briefly, so that we don't overcomplicate it, as an introduction, what is a NAS system? And that's NAS. And what is a RAID system? RAID. What do we mean by that? Because they are backup systems, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, computer people love their acronyms, don't they?
RAM
RAM,
NAS and RAID.
WYSIWYG, yeah. What you see is what you get, right?
Yeah.
Let's take NAS to start off with. NAS, first of all, stands for Network Attached Storage, which means that it's like a big hard drive, but instead of plugging it into your computer, you plug it into your broadband or your router, your switch, and that makes the contents of that box available to anything that connects to the Wi-Fi, which can mean you can also connect with certain NAS systems to that whilst you're outside the house as well. So you could be anywhere in the world, as long as you have the internet, and you have the internet where your NAS is located, you should be able to access the contents of your NAS. Now, in terms of how a NAS is put together, NAS is just the name of the enclosure, really, and by that it's the box that we physically put hard drives into. They come in all different sizes, from 1, 2, 5, 10, 25 drives. The more drives that you fit into these NAS systems, the more redundancy you have. So for instance, if you've got a 2-disk redundancy and one of the disks breaks, you've got another one as backup. Okay. And
Mm.
it's a simple case of replacing the broken disk, and the good disk should write onto the contents of it over to the new replacement disk. Okay. So that's all a NAS is a bunch of disks, hard drives, physical pieces of hardware put into a box to work together. Now, this is where RAID comes in. So RAID, redundant array of independent disks. Okay, told you they like they
Yeah.
like their acronyms, right?
Just get together and we got to
Just
make it a word. And
yeah, that's it.
RAID sounds pretty cool though, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
does.
does.
Yeah, you've also got JBOD, which is actually just a bunch of disks.
Right.
JBOD. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's
so you'll see
amazing.
JBOD, you'll see RAID. Okay. So RAID essentially was an idea that manifests itself in two ways, either as hardware or software. And now with hardware RAID, the program is written onto a little chip that sits inside the NAS. With software, it's written as part of the software that the NAS uses to arrange things. So if you
Is there a
think of
pros and cons between the chip and the software version, or?
hardware almost exclusively tends to be faster and more reliable.
Mhm.
Software tends to be cheaper, but
Mm.
less reliable. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So what does RAID do? Well, it takes all those disks and it takes your files and goes, right, if we put all of those files on one disk and that disk breaks, you've lost all your data. So what we're going to do, this RAID system is very clever, and it spreads your files across the disks. Think of it being like a jigsaw puzzle, okay?
Mm.
So say, for instance, I'm trying to think how to kind of describe this the easiest way. Say, for instance, you take a photograph of Cam there now, Mark, right? And we cut it up into 4 pieces,
Yeah.
okay? And on the back of that photograph, the physical photograph that we've printed, we write A, B, C, and D, okay?
Mhm.
Now we got 4 disks inside our RAID array,
Mhm.
okay? And what we do is we make a copy of that photograph, okay, a couple of times. And on the first disk, we put parts A and B. On the second disk, we put parts B and C. Third disk goes C and D. And fourth disk goes D and A. Now, considering that the photograph takes 4 parts, A, B, C, D, to make up, if
Mhm.
we lost any one of those disks, we can put a new disk in and rebuild that photograph from A, B, C, and D
Yeah.
that are on the other disk.
Others. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's, it sounds complicated, but that's at its bare essentials how a RAID system works. It spreads the contents of your photographs across those disks, allowing the redundancy to, work better, because you've got it spread over multiple disks.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does actually. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it does make sense.
So
And
that's the way it works.
and this might be a stupid question. You might have said this already. But are these two systems, are they separate systems, or are they integrate? Can you use them together, or?
So when you buy a NAS system,
Yeah.
they will have certain programs built in. Most will
Yeah.
have a RAID system, or will say
Yeah.
that they've got a different type of RAID. Some
Mhm.
will say they've got JBOD in there.
Right.
JBOD is basically you put the disks in there and it'll show up as just separate disks.
Yeah.
So when you mount it, it'll show as two 2 terabyte disks, whereas
But yeah.
RAID will show
And
as 1 terabyte disk, but it's actually one mirroring another. Now, the other thing that gets confusing, and without going into too much detail, is there's different types of RAID as well. Some are going to be suitable for photographers, some aren't. We can discuss that in a later podcast because I don't want to
yeah.
bore your listeners. But essentially, there's only 2 that photographers are really going to use: is RAID 1 and RAID 5, and that's just
Right.
down to how the program stores the information across the disks.
Right. But neither one is more reliable than the other. It's just a different way of doing it, would you say? Or
RAID 1 tends to be slightly quicker when rebuilding. If RAID 5 becomes a little bit more easier for accessing your files because you're accessing from multiple disks at the same time. So
cool.
So yeah.
Excellent stuff. Well, Cam,
Brilliant.
that's loads to think about. I mean, just to put, I mean, I just use hard drives, and I do have 2 hard drives. One's at the studio, one's at home. I just back them up that way. But you're right. There are lots of steps to doing that. Especially when a drive gets over half full, I have to delete it and then put it on. So there's always like, oh my god, I've only got like 1 copy now of all my pictures. So yeah, it's interesting because this, I mean, and I'm sure we'll go into it because by the way, everybody, we're going to have Peter on a few of these podcasts because we do think this is really important. It's good that you can have that sort of drip feed. It happens all the time. I do have a lot of steps to do with mine. I am quite good at it, but yeah, no, it is really interesting. Cool. All right. I think that's probably it for tech for this episode. But thanks for dropping by, Peter.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Thank you very much again. Thank you very much, Peter. Yes. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Patreon channel. Please subscribe, link, do all of those. There's essential 5-star reviews, really essential to keeping this podcast going so we can get really good and useful information out to all of you photographers and videographers. And on that note, thank you very much, and we'll see you at the next one.
Bye for now.